last week I attended the summer solstice public investigation event at St. Albans Sanatorium. Now, this is the first time I'd been to St. Albans in about 2 years or so, and I was very excited to get back. So I got there earlier in the day. There wasn't really many people there. I ran into some of my friends who are volunteers there, hung out with them for a little while. I had fun, caught up all that stuff. The building kind of felt quiet. I didn't really feel creepy or really anything like that. So we all went our separate ways. I went out, go get food. They mistook my drink order, which I ordered a large Coke, no ice, because I don't take ice in my drinks, and I love Coke. And so I've been driving 2.5, almost 3 hours straight. It's like 88,000 million degrees in Radford for some strange reason. Go to take a big swig of this drink, and it's sweet tea. So yeah. Already off to a great start, and that's after. Now, this one's on me. I forgot my main microphone and my main light at home. I thought I had it packed in my kit, but nope. Completely forgot it at home. So anyway, go back to the building. It's almost time for the photo tour, and I noticed there's not many people there, which is a little strange because usually photo tours are somewhat busy. So I go up to the building, take some photographs, all that stuff. And for some strange reason, it just doesn't feel creepy, which is weird from St. Albans, because St. Albans has a very distinct feel to it. And this one, it just didn't have it this time. So anyway, go in there. There's some people checking in, but I went, checked in with everyone else, and they actually asked me, hey, would you mind helping out with the photo tours and all that stuff? So I was like, sure, why not? I know this building like the back of my hand. I'd be happy to help, anything like that. So go back out, and I'm taking some photos of the King Center, done all stuff. All of a sudden, a bunch of people shows up, and they told me that it was one of the larger groups that they had for photo tours in a long time. So we're doing the photo tours, not really anything crazy's going on. We do a spirit box session in the boiler room. We get a few really cool voices, some cool millimeter spikes, nothing above like 4 or something like that, kind of normal stuff for paranormal. But I noticed the whole time the building does not have a creepy vibe to it. Like, I literally feel like, I'm in the middle of a park, on a sunny, bright day with a bunch of people around. I don't feel like I'm in a haunted location, which is very, very strange for St. Albans. But what was even weirder is as we were going around the tours and all that stuff, people kept coming up to me, hey, I feel this. I feel like there's something hanging around, or, this place feels creepy, or, hey, I just heard something over there. I thought I saw something. So people kept coming up to me with these experiences. And, I'm like, is something wrong with me? Because I don't feel a single thing. And so towards the end of the tour, I actually break off from the group a little bit, and I'm walking around, I'm taking some photos, but I'm also trying to get a feel for the place, because at this point, I'm like, I haven't been to St. Albans in a while. It's been about a month and a half, 2 months since my last investigation, so maybe, I'm just a little rusty. And so I'm walking around, and I started feeling it a little bit upstairs where the bird cage is. And I was like, okay, I know nothing's wrong with me. It's just, this is just how the building is right now. So after the photo tour's done, which was a lot of fun, I really enjoyed doing that. I'm talking to some of the guys, and they're like, hey, Jake, did you feel the energy in the bowling alley and boiler room? I was like, no, I felt nothing. They're like, yeah. They're like, it's never like that. So we start the investigation, and the first room that we go to is the attic in the second floor hallway. And I noticed that they're kind of sending people more up towards the attic, which, sometimes they take people up to the attic and they focus on that. Sometimes they focus on the second floor hallway. This time they decided to focus on the attic for whatever reason. So I joined everyone else at the attic where they're doing their session, and they're not really doing anything up there aside from sitting, listening for noises, stuff like that. So I started using my spirit box outside the suicide bathroom, and we start getting a lot of noise, a lot of radio chatter. We get some really good voices, and things kind of change a little bit when we started doing the flashlight trick. We had it set up in a closet, and it started going off. I'm kind of skeptical of the flashlight trick anyway. So anyway, I start to go into the suicide bathroom, and as soon as I do, a voice says, get out, just real quickly, and it was kind of a creepy sounding voice. We got a few voices coming through. The main thing before I forget, the spirit box kept saying my name for whatever reason, but they weren't telling me, how they knew me, or why they knew me, or why they kept saying my name. But basically, the spirit box kept calling me Jacob, which is weird because I go by Jake. My name is Jacob, but I go by Jake. So that was a little strange that they kept saying my name. I think we counted 3 or 4 times it happened, but they never gave a reason why, which is a little strange. But I've had my name called before in St. Albans and at other locations, but not like that. That was a little strange. And then other than that, our guys that we had, they got a few voices in the suicide bathroom. They started investigating, and they seemed really, hyper focused on what was going on, which was a little interesting. It's good to be focused, but it seemed like they knew more was at play there than I guess they were letting on. But we got some really good stuff there. But honestly, I didn't feel much in the building. I was kind of letting everyone else have their fun, letting other people ask questions. People in our group, they didn't really ask many questions, but that's fine. Some people, they like to go to this stuff just to kind of observe, and experience, which is cool. I kind of did that my first time there. But it was kind of a chill investigation. It sucked because I was really looking forward to investigating this area, but we were there in the daytime, so you'd be looking at these really creepy hallways, and it'd be broad daylight, and it's like, it's like watching a horror movie in the middle of a park in broad daylight. It just doesn't feel the same. So I'm going down the hallway, making sure everyone is, staying in the group, not wandering off or anything. So this lady comes up to me, and she taps me on the shoulder. She's like, "Are you one of the guides?" And I told her, "No, I'm just helping out." And she said, "Okay, well, I'd like to go home now." And she had the, most panicked look on her face. Her husband, was holding on to her for dear life. They looked like, they had just seen a ghost, pun intended. So I asked her if she was okay. She said she was fine. And I asked her what happened. She said that she was going down the stairs from the attic. And she said they were one of the last ones to go. And she said all of a sudden it felt like two icy hands just gripped her on the shoulders. And she said they felt like, singular hands, just reached all the way around her shoulder, were holding her in place mid-step. And she said her husband was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What are you doing? Are you okay?" And, she said that she was absolutely frozen. And she also described a weird, almost like an electrical chill going up her spine, which, that's something that happens rarely. I actually experienced this later in the night. But she said that out of nowhere, it kind of let her go, and she almost fell forward. But, she caught herself, and, she went back downstairs, but something in her mind told her, don't look back or don't look up towards, the top of the stairs. And they were, they were very sincere, I believe, everywhere they said. They just, the look of panic in their eye. So after talking to them for a little bit, I saw one of the guides coming up behind us, and I said, "Hey, can you take these people back to the break room? They want to leave." And so, the guide was fine with that. The guide had actually mentioned to me that he was wanting to go back. So, it kind of worked out perfectly. So at this time, I still haven't really felt anything in the building, but I'm starting to pick up the vibe that, something's a little off here. I've seen the building be active. I've seen it be really rough and dark before. But, something like this hadn't really happened. I've seen people, not seen, but I've heard of people at events and investigations that are getting hit, slapped, punched, grabbed, stuff like that. I've been scratched. I've been hit there before. But something about this felt a little different. So, after I helped those people go back with the guide to the break room, I turn around, and at this point I'm at the Muffin Man hallway, and I'm trying to get to isolation where the rest of the group is because, I'm far behind. And I see this tall figure that's just, standing in the doorways. And looking back on it now, it had a weird posture to it, almost like it was in a sprinter's pose about to run. So my mind went to autopilot, which is never a good sign. And I remember immediately chasing after it. Now, mind you, my mind, like I said, is on autopilot, so I'm not really thinking at this point in time. I'm just, the only thing I can hear in my head is, this is a person that's either broken off from the group or they're up to no good. They might be a danger to people. I have to catch them. And that whole idea just kind of kept going over and over inside my brain. So I'm chasing this figure all over the place. The places it was taking me, I have no idea where I was. But I noticed every time I would round a corner, it would be waiting there in that same pose, waiting for me. And so after a while, I end up in the alcoholics ward. So all of a sudden, I'm running in there, and there's a group of people. And I'm like, "Hey, where did that person go?" And they're like, "What person? Where's your group? Why aren't you with them?" And so I was like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm chasing. I didn't say I'm chasing a figure or anything. I said, there's a person split off from the group. I'm going after them. And then the guide, I can't remember which one it was, says, "You need to go back to your group. It's not safe by yourself here." Which, in hindsight, is kind of a strange thing to say. You can either take that as it's not safe to be in the building by yourself, something because something could, you could get hurt, fall through a floor, something like that. And, that would be bad. Or you could take it as, they knew what I was talking about and they knew how dangerous this entity is. So, conspiracy theories, you can think what you want. So anyway, I kind of snapped to, and I was like, sorry, sir, I'm going back to my group, all that stuff. And I'm walking around the corner, and I'm in control of my mind, and I'm like, that was a strange experience, and I'm kind of, mentally going over what had just happened, like, that was a tall person. Hey, they didn't look right, And I'm starting to put the pieces together that, this might not have been a person I was going after. And so, I have my camera. I'm about to pull it out of my bag because I wanted to do some filming. That's one of my main reasons for going to St. Albans this time is I want to get photos. I want to get video. So I look up to go up the stairs, and it's standing at the top of the stairs. And it's in like this really weird, it's got like its left leg bent inward. It's a very strange looking pose, very non-human. And then all of a sudden I see it and I go, hey, and then it starts gliding back in like this really weird, like it's here and then it just slowly glides. And there's something about that just sent, it was like an electrical feeling down my spine, which, I talked about that earlier in the video. Someone had an electrical feeling. And that autopilot just kicked in my mind, and I went after it again. And I remember going down the hall a little bit, hanging a right, and then I made another turn. I don't remember what turn it was, but once again, I'm going after this thing, and there's one detail that I notice. Towards the end of chasing it, I get a plain view of it. When I saw it at the stairs, I was looking head on, like no obstructive view, no shadows, no nothing. It was a clean view, as clear as I am. Hopefully I'm clear in this video. But it was just, it's rare to have an experience like that. But when I saw it in that room, I knew it wasn't human. I knew it wasn't a human spirit. Simply because it had its head a little turned a little bit. It was in that left leg bent inward stance. Its mouth, like my corner of my mouth here, was like here on it. And it had this crooked smile that went from here all the way up to here. And it didn't move. It was just weird looking, but it's very, very thin. You couldn't make it, like the pink of the lips, whatever it's actually called. You couldn't see it. It almost looked like just a line, but it was a weird looking smile. And then in terms of facial details, from here up, I saw no facial details. It looked blurred. And for some reason, that disturbed me more than anything. The other thing I noticed, it didn't give off any feeling. See, when I first got into the paranormal, my dad emphasized you need to learn to pick up on energies. It'll get you out of so many bad situations, not just with spirits, but also living. And so I've always taken that very, very seriously. That's one of the things that, I feel like I'm really good at in the paranormal is picking up on certain energies, and when to leave, when to stay, what you're dealing with, that kind of thing. So when I was feeling nothing, that self-doubt came into my mind. I was like, crap. I was like, am I rusty? Am I not fit to deal with this situation? And I believe that was an attack by it to get me into a vulnerable state. And I think it worked because, I was second-guessing myself. I was doubting myself. I was like, mind you, this is as I'm running through the building. I'm like, oh, crap. I'm like, this kind of sucks. Another important detail, I was going through these areas of the building without a flashlight. Now, to fast forward to the end of the story, no one could figure out what area I was in because I chased it around this one corner. I opened up in this short little hallway, ran down the hallway, and I opened up into this big white room. And there was a white column in it. It was like a half octagonal wall. It looked like the back of an old fireplace or something like that. And there was all sorts of costumes and stuff, but they all had like an inch or two of dust on them. Like no one had been back there in a very long time. But there was one of those, I guess it's like a fire escape light or a security light, but it's a very bright yellow light. It's in isolation too by the green room where the bathtub is. But that's how I was able to see in there. And, I had never been there before. And talking to some of the guides and all that stuff, when I was telling them my experience at the end of the night, they're like, we don't know what that room is. We've never heard of that room. Come to find out, one of the people, Mike, if you're watching, you're awesome. Just like everyone else at St. Albans. Mike told me that a few years back, they used to use that room as like a volunteer hangout for if, volunteers and stuff wanted to get away from people, wanted to have their own place to chill. That's what he told me or what I remember him telling telling me. So if, someone's watching this video and they know what it's actually for, comment below. I would love to know. But basically, that room had been off limits for years. And apparently they said there were 2 tarps. One by the stairwell, and then one where you can actually go into that set of hallways. I don't remember there being a tarp there, and if there was, I must have walked through it. So basically, I'm going through these corners, pitch black rooms I've never been in, that no one's been in apparently in years, and I was navigating it without a flashlight, running full speed with my camera bag, a backpack, tackle box, and a whole bunch of flashlights and stuff. It was it's kind of impressive. I'm kind of proud of myself. I didn't die, but it was just very strange. And I remember coming into that big white room, and I just snapped back into reality. I was like, oh crap. I'm looking around like, where am I? I don't know where I am. And so I'm trying to collect myself, and then I felt it for the very first time. It literally felt like a wave just hit me. And there was this smell. It almost smelled like poop or something, like diarrhea poop. And it was awful. And there was this heat that came from it. And it didn't feel demonic. That was the thing. Usually when I'm around a demonic entity, I get like a cannonball in the stomach kind of feeling. I start feeling really antsy, and I start feeling almost like an electric feeling. This wasn't like that. It had some of it, like, I did have a little bit of an electric feeling. It was mainly on my spine, though. My spine was really sensitive. I did feel a lot of heat kind of radiating off it, which was very similar to when I experienced the blob in the second floor hallway. So there are similarities between demonic entities with this thing and then elemental entities with this thing. And then also mimicking humans. I know that's something elementals, demonic can do, and also shapeshifters. But usually with those, there is a tell. We're going to do a video in the future talking about, what each type of entity does and the tells, how to protect yourself. That's something I have to write down and remember to actually record, because I've been wanting to do that for a while. But essentially, I could feel it. And I look in the hallway that I came down, I turn around, and I see it. It's literally gliding right at me, and I'm frozen. I have no idea what to do. I'm like, oh crap. I've got this little flashlight that I pulled out of nowhere so I get a better look at it. And the flashlight, which I had literally bought about 2 hours before, because at the beginning of this video, I said, I forgot my lights at home for some strange reason. I never, ever do that. I'm still kind of pissed I did that. But I've literally bought this flashlight a few hours ago. I had fresh batteries. I go to click it on, and it's dead. I'm like, of course, like in every horror movie, I'm basically living The Conjuring at this point. Where's Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga when you need them, basically? So, I'm standing my ground. I am ready to do battle. I am saying prayers in my head. I'm doing the white light, and nothing seems to be working. This thing is literally, I'm watching it glide. It's almost like it's, on a skateboard, and it's like slowly skating toward it, which is probably a weird analogy, but I'm just going to go with it. So it's coming towards it, and it comes to the, entrance of the room, and then it stops, and it doesn't make a sound. I hear no sounds whatsoever from, let me adjust this camera a little bit. I notice, no sounds. I have that feeling, that smell that's just awful. It's a terrible, terrible smell. I can almost smell it just talking about it. And it's, getting intense, more intense, more intense, more intense. And then it does something very strange. It ran away. So it's there, and there was a stairwell to the right of it. And it's, to the left of the room. And all of a sudden, it like glides back and then ducks in that room real quickly. It's almost like, it's there coming towards you. All of a sudden, it does almost like an about face and then goes down those stairs. Once again, I turn on my flashlight. I went to go get my voice recorder. I go to turn on my voice recorder, and it's dead. My voice recorder was dead the entire night. I could not get it to work once, even though I bought batteries at Rural King. And I specified because Rural King always has really good batteries, and they usually have good taffy too. Anyway, my batteries did not work on. I even had an investigator let me borrow some of their fresh batteries that they had just bought. Wouldn't work. So something did not want me recording it. So I chase after it, with a flashlight down the hallway. Down the short hallway, down the stairs. I've never been down these stairs before. So I go down here, and I thought I saw it take a left turn down this other hallway. So I go left where I thought it went. Next thing you know, I'm back in Alcoholics Ward. And that group's looking at me like, what the heck is this dude's problem? Why is he running all over the place yelling, because at this, I didn't realize it, but, looking back on it, now I do. I was going through the halls going like, hey, who are you? Hey, come back, that kind of crap, which, very stupid. Don't do it. Don't ever do it. The only reason, if I had been in control of my mind and my emotions, I wouldn't have done it. But, like I said, I was on an autopilot. So I told him what happened. I didn't tell him fully what happened. Just, hey, I saw someone, I saw him duck down through here. Where did they go? And once again, the same people are like, no, you need to be with your group. It's not safe. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm probably going to see it again because I go up those same stairs, those pink stairs. And I'm like, I'm just going to go to isolation. Because at this point, it's been about 20 some odd minutes, into the thing. So I'm walking, down the main hallway, Muffin Man hallway, make that turn to go to isolation, go down this narrow hallway, and my light starts flickering. And I can feel it. I get that, electric feeling. I can smell that awful smell again. And I know it's behind me. I know it's behind me. So real quick, I have my voice recorder in my pocket. Even though it wasn't working, I kept it in my pocket most of the night. So I pull out my voice recorder, kind of mess with the batteries with one hand a little bit, trying to, get any form of life out of them. Go to turn on, it's still dead. So I'm like, crap. I'm like, I'm never going to record this thing. I wanted to get the camera I'm filming with now, but it was in, the bag over my shoulder. It would have been a pain in the butt. So anyway, I'm walking down the hallway. I can feel it getting closer. And at this point, I can hear it. And it's making like these huge thump, thump, thump noise. Almost like it's stomping with big, heavy boots, which is, very inhuman. So I'm just walking. And I'm like, I hear you. I know you're there. I don't care. And it's weird because it felt like it got more intense, like it was pissed, like, hey, we're going to play this game again, whether you want to or not. And I just didn't pay attention to it. And I could feel it. I could feel it getting closer. And I also felt, it felt like rage was being directed at me, like it was about to hit me or something. And I was bracing for it. I was ready. And then I made that turn to go by the morgue in isolation, and it was gone. And then the building felt perfectly fine again. And, I turn around, look down the hall, flashlight works again, nothing. Tried my voice recorder wasn't dead, so I kind of gave up on it. Going back to the whole voice recorder thing, before I forget about it, I did get home, that morning, and I tried my voice recorder, and it worked perfectly fine. So I have no idea why my voice recorder did not want to work. But yeah, apparently, that was my experience with Tall Man, which is what the guides at St. Albans have come to call it. So I go into the morgue to do the session, and everyone's got like this solemn look on their face. And first off, they're in the morgue. We had only lost about 3 or 4 people so far. And the morgue isn't really one of those places that, you set up shop for a while. I've investigated the morgue once or twice. All the times I've been there, 8 or 9 times I've been there. And I just really haven't got much. There was one time where, we got a few cool spirit box clips, and then we saw an orb come out of a room and go down a hall. That was pretty cool. But really, that's not the place you think, would be active. So, anyway, we're all in this room doing a spirit box session, and it starts getting dark pretty quick. We're getting growls. Something's messing with the spirit box static, which I always hate whenever spirits mess with the spirit box. One of my biggest pet peeves. And people start getting physically affected. Now, we had some skeptics that were in our group 2, and they were having some pretty crazy experiences. One guy was saying, he felt nauseous. Another girl felt like, something was touching her back, touching her legs, and all that stuff. And the spirit box all of a sudden starts saying my name randomly. And it's, once again, kind of like what happened in the attic. It's not telling me why. It just keeps saying my name. And at this point, I have a good idea what's going on. I know something's here that isn't human. And it's extremely powerful. It's extremely aggressive. And it seems to be affecting the other spirits. So at this point, I'm in full on, what's going on here? Who are you? Kind of vibe. And I think it picked up on that because, it was directing its anger more towards me. And then after it, it wasn't able to affect me, I guess, the way it wanted to or the way it thought it could. So it started targeting other people in our group. Our guide, she's a very good investigator, very tough investigator. But she got really affected. She got sick. She got nauseous. At one point, I saw her, her hands perfectly fine. They're balling up like this. And I said, hey, are you okay? She said, I don't know. I just felt really aggressive, like I want to hurt everyone. And, that's a really bad sign. That's something you would call normally demonic oppression and early stages of possible possession. I don't think that was the case in this. I think it was something else, something more powerful and more sinister that was affecting her. So basically, you know, I'm starting to feel sick. I feel nauseous. Like, I am literally about to fall into the floor and start puking my guts out bad. She's feeling sick. Some other people in the group feeling sick. And then it starts growling. And we thought it said her name. And she got freaked a little bit. And she actually left. You know, I think she left the building. I don't know where she went, but she left the area. The cool thing about it, which is really weird, kind of silver lining, she had an infrared GoPro set up that had the entire room covered, and she was filming the entire time. So when she left her camera behind, because she got up and she was gone. She, you know, she made a break for it, which I don't really blame her. So all the stuff that I'm describing to you, I didn't get it on film, unfortunately, but she did. And I talked to her last night, and she said that she was going over the footage and that she let me know what she got. So I really can't wait to see what all she got, because everything was recorded. I was sitting, center frame, all that stuff. So everything that I said and did, everything I heard, all that crap should be there. So basically the spirit is, calling my name, and people are starting to get freaked out. They're telling me, hey, we want to leave. We want to leave. I think 2 people ended up leaving and like, nope, this is enough. I think what that was, there were some people that were standing back in where they used to do autopsies and stuff like that. And they were like, hey, there's warm air in here. I was like, warm air? I was like, it's, kind of a cool breeze. So I walk in there and I'm assuming it's a draft. And I was like, oh, it's coming from the window, right? They're like, no, it's coming from the wall. I was like, oh crap, my mind immediately went to, hey, there might be a fire in the walls. So I'm feeling the walls, and I could feel this heat radiating out of one spot of the walls, which, that might be a normal thing. I'm not an electrician or a carpenter or anything like that, so I don't know if that's normal. It felt weird. And after that, there was like a weird laugh over the spirit box, and they're like, nope, I'm out. These are people that, they weren't skeptics, but they were half believers, but they were gone. So I'm sitting there, I was like, I want to figure this out. So I start, not really provoking it, but I'm asking, intense questions. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, who it is, and I'm telling it everything I know. And I'm like, basically, hey, you're not as powerful as you think you are. You can't affect us like this. And all of a sudden, this girl who's sitting across from me, she had almost like an Ovilus type app on her phone where, it spits out random words and stuff like that. And she's like, oh my God, oh my God. And she literally pitches me her phone. I'm a perfect stranger. I hadn't really talked to her. She just pitches me her phone and says, look. And the last 2 words that it said were hang yourself. And I'm reading them out loud. And I'm like, hang yourself. And I'm looking, I'm like, what? And I'm trying to process. And then there's this voice that comes to her spirit box that says, Jake. And it's just disturbing because when you put it together, it's almost like it's saying, hang yourself, Jake. And I was sitting there and I was like, did you just say for me to hang myself? And a voice came over, plain as they said, do it. And at that point, I was like, okay. I was like, this is ridiculous. So, I shouldn't have done this. I should not have done this. If it had been a private investigation, if it just me and Chris, or, just a small intimate group, I would have done this. But in a public investigation, where there's a lot of people, I'm not very used to handling all this stuff. Not a good idea. But basically, I went after it. Full on, guns blazing, this is what I think you are, I know these are your limits, stuff like that. I demand you to tell me who you are, I'll send you back, to where you came from, that kind of stuff, not really posturing, but, antagonizing, I guess, a little bit, because at this point, I'm still trying to feel out what's going on, and then there's like this dark energy that just comes into the room, and then the cannonball in the stomach feeling this heat, I knew it was demonic. It's demonic. I know what a demon feels like. I know my last video, people are getting on to me, oh, it's not a demon, that's not a demon. Negative spirits can feel like this. When you're in the presence of a demonic entity, which I have been many times, unfortunately, you will never forget that feeling. And I know what that feeling was. And I start feeling sicker than I've ever felt. I mean, I was touching my hand to my face. I could feel sweat. I felt wrong. I felt like water was in my head, like swashing around. It was a terrible feeling. But, I didn't give ground. I knew not to, because any sign of weakness, and it would exploit it. And so, we're doing the session, and people are freaked out at this point. They're about ready to go. And, one of the guys in the group is like, hey, we need to leave. We need to leave. And so I told him, I said, no. I said, there's a certain way you have to leave. You have to stand your ground, establish boundaries. And, that's That's what I was always taught to do with handling that kind of stuff if you want to leave. So basically that's what I started doing, and it did not like that at all. Ended up another person ended up leaving because it was just too much for them. And the guy was like, I'm out, I'm effing out, you know, that kind of crap. So anyway, I was sitting there, I was like, hey, you can't do this, you can't follow us, you can't hurt us. You know, I said a quick prayer, you know, did the white light around the group, all of that stuff. And then I could feel it get angrier. And I was like, I know I'm affecting you. I said, you don't like this, do you? And we're starting to get grunts, growls, and weird metallic sounds over the spirit box. I go to pull out my voice recorder again, nothing. Won't record. Go to pull out this camera, go to record, nothing. It won't do it. It keeps saying not able to focus, which is weird because on manual focus, you should be able to. And I turned on my light real close to the spirit box so it would at least be able to focus on it to record. Wouldn't even do it. Wouldn't record. And so I was like, you know what? I was like, all right, you want to play that way? We'll play that way. So I was sitting there and I was like, you know, I was like, I saw the tall figure. I said, you know, I saw what it could do. I see what you can do. I'm not scared of you. You're going to have to do something crazier, you know, to get my attention. And, you know, hindsight, I shouldn't have said that because what it did next was kind of scary. So I'm sitting there after I said, the girl who had pitched me her phone, I see her go, and she's going to point. And at that time, I can hear something behind me start running towards me out this, it's a little room, like a mini hallway, almost like a walk-in closet kind of space, and I could hear something running, like rushing. So I turned my head real quick, and I can see, to me it looked like a figure came out of the wall and was rushing towards me. She ended up telling me later on, as we were going to break, she said it looked like something rose out of the ground and then like glided towards me. But basically, I heard something running towards me, and I went to, you know, flip my chair to go after it, and at that moment there are chains on the door. And, you know, if you've been to St. Albans, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of the volunteers, they talk about, you know, sometimes they hear those chains rattle. I saw the chains start rattling like this, and I could hear them. And I love this moment because, one, it was kind of creepy, kind of cool. It does make for a fun story to tell. But also, I know it was on film. I know it was, and I cannot wait to hear that audio gotten from that camera. I'm not an expert with GoPro mics, so I don't know how good they are. There'll probably have to be some enhancement done, but that was disturbing, and I just felt all this rage go. It literally felt like it went right through my body, and at that moment, I knew, you know, we've got to go. You know, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We've got to go. Also, another weird thing, my spirit box was messing up at about this time. So, you know, I did all that stuff, you know, protection. I told everyone in the group, hey, this is what you do. Whatever you do to protect yourself and feel safe, confident, all that stuff, you know, do that now. And I gave very specific commands to the spirits, and I said, you know, you can't join us, you have to stay here, you know, by the power, you know, all that fun stuff that I usually do on investigations. And we left. And so we went downstairs, you know, and there was our other guys, they were hanging out, they weren't really doing much, they were kind of recovering, and so nothing's going on, we're about to leave, and I'm standing at the doorway that goes up the stairs from isolation, and I hear people coming downstairs, so I'm assuming, you know, there's a group coming, all that stuff, and I was like, hey, you know, we're down here, we'll be up in a second. There's no response, and so immediately I felt just, you know, it's like a pocket of energy just like shot up the stairs, and I stopped, and I told the guy, I said, there's someone up there. And one of the guys is like, come on, let's go. And so we go running after it. And, you know, he and I. And we round the corner. And as soon as I round that corner, I looked down the hallway. I saw a tall shadow figure. Not the tall man, but it was just another tall shadow figure. And then I literally watched it just like dissipate into the air. And we went all over the place looking for whoever it was. We couldn't find it. Nothing. And so at this point, we ended up going on break, which was weird because, you know, all the guides kind of went to, you know, the outside area, or at least all the guides that I saw. And a lot of people, over half our group, ended up leaving. They went up to the front, signed out. I heard some of them didn't want refunds. You know, they just wanted out of there, which I've never seen that before. And I think most groups ended up losing like 3 or 4 members by that first break because, you know, a lot of other groups were experiencing very strange things. I guess from what I heard, you know, I could be wrong, but from what I heard, they weren't experiencing stuff to our degree, but they could feel just this dark, dangerous presence. I talked to this one couple as they were leaving, and they were like, man, the building just doesn't feel safe. And they kept asking me, like, do we really have to sign out? You know, do we have to be in this building any longer? We want to go home. We don't feel safe. We want to go home. And you know, that was kind of the general vibe over the whole night. People didn't feel safe. It was weird when I walked into the main room as I was charging up my equipment in one of the offices. Everyone was kind of just huddled together in that big room, you know, and all the chairs kind of looking at each other. No one was really talking. It was strange. I've never seen that before in my life. But here's the weirdest thing, and I guess it says a lot about me. I was eager to go back in the building. I was pumped. I was excited because, you know, I had a chance to calm myself, collect myself, you know, do my protection, all of that stuff. You know, I felt like I was going to battle. I was like, you know, I know what this is, or I have a good idea. I didn't know what it was in the sense that, hey, I know this is a demonic entity or this is an elemental. I knew this was a dark force that was brand new. I had never felt it in the building before, and I wanted to see what it was. I wanted to see, and in my mind, I knew if I go back in the building looking for it, I'm going to get answers. So after that craziness, if I ever get this camera in focus, after that craziness, we ended up going to the alcoholics ward in Dragon's Room, which I expected a lot of stuff to happen there. We had nothing the whole night. I was a little disappointed by that. After that part of the session, we went up to the classrooms, which, you know, that was what our previous video was about. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. That's the full story there. And then after that, we were going down to the boiler room and the bowling alley. And it was strange because, you know, I was bringing up the rear. You know, I was walking through and I actually was recording video and was kind of feeling around because, you know, after the darkness, that was an awful session. I wanted to be sure that nothing was following us. So I was up there by myself, not really anything, I haven't heard a few things. So we're going down to the boiler room. I'm bringing up the rear, and then the guy calls me out and says, hey, Jake, come here real quick. And she was like, Jakey, I don't feel right. She's like, I don't want to investigate anymore. So she ended out, you know, she was sick. I think she threw up a few times, and, you know, whatever it was had hit her hard in the classrooms. I felt really bad for her, especially since, you know, she's a great friend of mine, great investigator, which is how I know, you know, she wasn't lying. You know, good investigators don't crumble like that unless there's a supernatural force involved. So go down to the boiler room. Not much happened. I didn't go to the bowling alley at all. But in the boiler room, there was a glowing figure that someone saw behind me, which is disturbing. I never heard of that before, and that freaked him out. A girl, actually, because there was another guy that was helping me, and he ended up leaving because his girlfriend, wife, I don't know the relation there, but she literally, I'm watching her go like this. She's talking also like that. She had literally a handful of her hair pulled out of her head, and then he heard something go through the door and run down the hallway as if, you know, it's like a kamikaze attack. Happens real quick, and then, you know, pisses you off. But I was literally, she was holding it out and was like, look, and it was like a huge clump of hair covered, you know, the palm of her hand completely. You know, I've never seen anything like that. I ended up going up towards this entity where it told me to go. You know, and I had something run up on me. I smelled wet fur. It kind of felt like it was repeating the steps of that goat man encounter I had, which was very bad. And at that moment, when it started growling and I smelled the fur, I knew the signs, like, this is the same goat man experience over and over. It's going to do it again. So at that moment, I called the investigation. I was like, nope. I was like, I'm not playing this game anymore. So I ended up leaving. You know, I went to the bottom of the stairs, which is a very active area, and I just kind of hung out there. You know, I did a quick EVP session, trying to hear anything. Some people were asking me questions, but effectively, that was the end of it. You know, I felt like that was a point where things were about to go awful. You know, things were about to get even worse than they were, and I thought people were going to get hurt. So, you know, and I was by myself in terms of, you know, I'm not a guide. I'm not a volunteer. You know, I technically shouldn't have been in that role. And so I just made the call, like, you know, that's it. I was like, I do not want any part of this, and I don't want anyone else in my group to be a part of this. But at this point, we were only down like 5 or 6 people out of 13, which is really rough. But that was basically it. You know, that was all the weird paranormal stuff that happened. I come to find out there were people that tried to break in. And from what I heard, they were like all dressed in black. They were very sketchy looking people. There was a feeling around them that they were gonna hurt people, which sucked because I was parked, you know, halfway down the hill by myself, you know. The cops, when they came through doing the report, they're like, oh, there's nothing here aside from this, you know, this black car sitting by itself. I was like, hey, you know, my car, thanks. You know, I don't need a chaperone. I'm 21, so, and I didn't use a chaperone, kind of proud. But it was disturbing. Very, very disturbing. But it was weird because they said that those people that were trying to break in, they tried every door, every window they could to get into that place. And I remember seeing their flashlights go by twice, like they were pacing back and forth at that door. And even if people were in that room, they could hear them. They still tried to bust in. They were like yelling at people through the doors from what I heard. But they didn't try our door. It was very strange. And it was weird because when they were coming through, I was right by the door because I could see lights like, I was like, crap, are people leaving in the middle of the last session? I thought it was ridiculous. You know, like I said, I didn't have a walkie-talkie or anything. I didn't know people were trying to break in, you know, potentially dangerous people were trying to break in. But it is kind of weird that out of all the places that they tried, the one doors and, you know, all that stuff they didn't try was, you know, the ones we were at. Which, you know, if they had done that, we'd have been screwed. So what did I learn from all this? Well, I learned it's extremely important to keep your guard up. Second off, never underestimate a location. And then also, I need to work a little bit on protecting myself and those around me. Like I said, I thought I was doing a pretty good job of protecting myself on this investigation, but evidently not, because that one entity was able to break my defenses like that. So, and as for what Tall Man is, I have no idea, but a lot of guides have seen it. I've talked to some of them. They said it scares them a little bit. They said, you know, it makes them very uncomfortable to be in the building. You know, if any, like I said, any guides watching this, you know, they want to share their experiences about it, or anyone watching the video has any experiences, you know, period, let me know. I would love to get more pieces of the puzzle here, because, you know, I think I have most of the pieces, but I'm still missing some of the main pieces, you know, like those stupid corner pieces that makes your, you know, puzzle looks really bad. Yeah, it's kind of making me angry, because I want to know what it is, but, you know, I don't know if I ever will. You know, that kind of sucks, but this was something, an energy I never encountered before, and an entity I never encountered before, and just, you know, seeing an entity that had like a weird facial thing like that, and then from here up it's just blur, it's just weird, and then that weird glide it did, you know, just, it's literally like something you expect to see in a horror movie, and you never think, you know, even, I've been a paranormal investigator for 11 or so years, almost 12 years, I have never seen anything like that before, and that's not something, you know, you go in like, hey, you know, I wonder if I'm going to see something glide across the floor with, you know, a blurred out face, you know, that's not something that goes through your mind. You know, that's not an experience I want to have. Now, for those of you in the comments, I might be like, you know, that sounds demonic, that sounds evil. You know, it felt evil, it felt angry, but I don't know. I mean, it didn't feel demonic. I don't think it was a demon. I think it was something completely different. I think it was something a bit more powerful. But that was basically my experience with Tall Man, and it was disturbing to say the least. You know, there's a lot of lessons learned on this investigation. There's a lot of stuff to go over, a lot of research on types of entities, how entities come to locations, why they stay there. There's just a lot to unpack here, so I'd love to hear your thoughts below in the comments about this investigation. You know, what are your thoughts, you know, on everything that happened? What do you think is the culprit behind what happened? You know, is it elemental, demonic, something different? You know, part of me is at a loss for words here, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment below, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. We are so close to 900 subscribers at the time of filming this, and let's see if we can hit 900 after this video. But from Fife Paranormal, I'm Jake. I hope you have a great day, everyone.